let's talk about time. When we talk about time, I mean, I mentioned the clock is here, but that's just a machine that does this. It's a device. There's nothing inherently about it that is time. It's serving to mark for me some kind of idea I have of something flowing by as I sit here unmoving and watch it go by, right? But the time is not actually like that at all. We talk about the past. Of course, the past is just my memories. Accurate or inaccurate, my subjective memories. And what I've heard other people say about so-called history. That's what we call past. It's all my own stuff. The future, of course, is just my projection, my fantasy, my fear. Okay, so then people say, stay in the present moment. The present's the only thing that exists. But I cannot grab that anywhere either. So I don't know what people mean when they say stay in the present moment. How do you stay in something that is not fixed? Well, meditation means just be now, be here now, be in the present. There's no present at all. The most we can say is there's a process of transformation, unfolding that somehow I'm experiencing. But because it's a transformation or unfolding, there's no so-called point, which is the present. The most we can say about it is it's a place where I have this idea that the future becomes the past. It's that moment by moment manifestation, so to speak, which is not a point that you can ever pin down. It's just a process, a flow. It's like if you watch a campfire or fire in your fireplace, flames. You try to pin down the flame. You can't, because it's a process of dynamic, energetic unfolding and movement. Of course, you can take a photo, but that's dead. It's not the real flame, right? The real flame, there's no moment where you can say, there's the fire, there's the fire. The whole process is the fire. And it's never ceasing, at least until the fuel burns out. So the present is like that. It's this unfolding. This, again, I said this process or manifestation. The most we can say about time is that in the midst of that, everything is transforming, including the one who's aware of it, including this body, including what I'm sitting upon, this building, the entire environment, the entire universe. There is nothing which is fixed, unchanging, permanent. The wood will rot. I mean, the wood was a tree, I don't know how many years ago, not so long ago, and some years from now will be dust again, and the same with me. That is what we mean by time. I mean, we know this, right? You know, again, common sense. You know that metal things rust. Wooden things rot. Bodies transform, die, decay. We know this intellectually, but in a more intimate way, we have to understand that when we're talking about time, it's not something that we can track with a clock or that we exist within and watch. Time is us. We are the passing of time. This aging and decay and ultimately death of this body is what we mean by time. Time is just change. That's a liberating way to look at it. I guess frightening for some people because it really drives home to you that there's nothing stable, nothing at all. Where my dreams, my relationships, my family, my loved ones, my loved objects, my goals, my accomplishments, none of it can stay. All of it is like that. Just a tongue of the flame in the fireplace that flashes up and dissipates and is gone. We're still experiencing it somehow. Doesn't mean it's not real, but it's not fixed, solid, lasting. None of it, none of us. Not I either. Again, I can talk this way and you can have a sort of intellectual understanding of it, but maybe the feeling of it could really hit you a little more. When we talk about time, again, we tend to think of it as something that I'm watching go by. No, I'm the one that is that time. The transformation, the change I am experiencing is what we call time. So when we realize that, again, we realize there's really nothing to depend on. There's nothing that's permanent, solid. In this, at least in this existence, I can observe with my own senses, right? I can't find anything in my experience ever which lasts. So that, when we see that, that may give us a little feeling of urgency, or at least a question. Let me say this, so we may have a question. That being the case, how should I use this life? What's the wise way to use this life? If nothing lasts anyway, especially most of the things that I find so important or get obsessed so much about, like relationships and belongings and titles and accomplishments and degrees and income and the things I buy with income and so on. If it's all just as ephemeral and illusionary as a tongue of flame shooting up in the fireplace, cannot pin any of it down or depend on it, then what's the real value of life? How should I use my life? What is this existence? This process rather than this thing? And how do I use it wisely? You may start to have those questions arise. In other words, when you really deeply feel and observe that fact of what we call transience, our existence in time. So that's one thing. We can look at our existence that way, and it's very revealing to arrive at that truth that nothing's fixed.